How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Winter Build Series. Now, when we checked in last, I was working on taking apart the engine bay to get it ready to be painted, and well, today's the day. So this episode is all going to be about color. We're going to be spraying the engine bay, as well as taking a look at some freshly coated parts that just came back from advanced powder coating here in Bellingham, Washington. So let's get started. All right, so on the last video, I was working on taking apart all the parts in the engine bay to get it ready for paint. And as you can see, it looks quite a bit different. Last time it was actually one solid color, whereas now it kind of looks like this weird camo marble paint job, but it's actually just a bunch of surface prep. So let's take a look at what I did in order to get it ready for paint. So being the OEM paint job, it really isn't that bad as far as surface prep because you only have that single layer that you have to burn through. As far as paint removal, you could see that we didn't take it down to bare metal, just removing that top coat. And some areas were a little bit thinner than others, so it did burn through a little bit quicker. But basically just working our way from 180 grit all the way up to 400 in different levels. Some areas were a little bit thicker, so I had to start with a 60 and then work my way back up to 180. Then from there to a 220, a 320, and then the final pass was with a 400. So as you can see, everything is pretty smooth. It does kind of have that cool marble look to it. I mean, if that was an actual paint job, but we're going to get this one solid color again and looking nice and spiffy. All right, so as far as color is concerned, I was originally going to be doing more of a gloss black in the engine bay to match the original 732 color code from the factory. Yes, the car was black originally when it came over from Japan. You could tell that some spots have been touched up and the paint quality really wasn't all too great. So when I originally bought the car, we had resprayed it 326 crystal white. And I had it white for probably about a year or so, and then we resprayed it again, LP2 Midnight Purple. It's the R33 OEM color, which it currently is now. So I was going to do that gloss black in the engine bay just to make it look nice and clean and let the engine stand out on its own with the freshly powder coated parts. But after some thoughts and discussions, we decided we're going to paint match the engine bay. As a whole, the car itself is going to be more cohesive. And with the powder coated parts, everything's going to tie in and play together a lot better than adding another color into the mix. Like, right, you know, gloss black looks good. It'll kind of disappear in the background, but I think having the midnight purple blend into the engine bay is going to look a lot sharper. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to day 2. So we shot the engine bay yesterday, and I apologize for the lack of introduction for my buddy David. When he got here, we realized that we didn't have a low pressure fitting that worked for his gun and my compressor setup. So we had to run into town and grab one from the local hardware store, and honestly, by the time we got back here, we just started jamming. So all the footage that you're seeing, that's David diving straight into the work. And thank you so much to David and Jennifer for making the 2-hour drive up here to shoot the bay. I'm beyond stoked on how it turned out. It looks absolutely amazing, and honestly, the camera and the lights in here really don't give it justice. Like when you see it in person, like just the color of the midnight purple, it's one of my favorite colors because you get like the slight metallic purple with the black, and like, yeah, it's freaking amazing. So the engine bay looks outstanding. We're gonna take a closer look at it here. It's cured all night, right? I've taken down all the plastic and removed most of the masking from the engine bay, so I can start working on putting some stuff back together. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at that here in a second, and then we're also gonna take a look at some of the parts that I've gotten back from Powdercoat and that I've been painting here at my house in the meantime. So like I said, this episode is all about color. Let's take a look at how the engine bay turned out. Well guys, what do you think? Pretty awesome, right? Well, the engine bay turned out great. Let's take a look at some of the parts that are going to be going into the bay and some of the colors that I picked out. All right guys, here are the new colors. So some of the parts have been powder coated. The blue, the purple, and the black were all done by a local company here in Bellingham called Advanced Powdercoat, and they did an awesome job on all the parts. The silver parts down at the bottom, the manifold, the throttle bodies, the CAS, the water neck, engine mounts, those were all done by me here at the house. Just a nice OEM looking silver. We'll just stay nice and clean in the bay and let all the colors stand out on their own. Now the blue I chose to go with is called an anodized light blue, and then the purple is called an anodized sugar grape. So they are still powder coat, but they do give off that nice anodized semi-metallic look because it has a chrome base underneath the color coat. And then the compressor housing, the catch can, and the manifold were all done in more of a nice satin black with a semi-wrinkle finish. So again, I'll just stay nice and clean the engine bay, give a nice OEM look, and let the colors stand out on their own. The brake calipers are also powder coated the anodized light blue, and I just recently got done rebuilding them with a fresh rebuild kit front and back. All right, so let's throw a couple parts back in the bay and we'll get an idea of what it's going to look like when everything comes back together. All right, so let's throw the catch can in there. So again, this was done the satin black, and the bracket is the anodized sugar grape. I did have a carbon fiber plate that went underneath it, mostly because the paint in the engine bay before was kind of shitty. So it just kind of drew your attention away from that. So that's basically where that's going to sit. So the purple is a different color, obviously, than the midnight purple, but I wanted something that would just kind of draw your attention and stand out a little bit and catch your eye. So there's not many parts that are done this purple, you know, just this little bracket. There'll be the fuel rail and then the compressor cover, right? So just something to kind of draw your eye and add a little bit more pop to the engine bay. So now let's take one of the valve covers. We'll put this guy right next to it and kind of see how all these colors are going to play together. So that's going to look freaking awesome. Obviously, this is going to be sitting back a little bit more over here. but you'll get the idea. So yeah, the valve covers, the timing cover, both upper and lower, are all done this anodized light blue, and that's really just going to pop right in the center of the bay. Just put the screen for the compressor housing cover on, so you can see the contrast between the black and the anodized sugar grape. And this is going to be over here next to this valve cover, so that the anodized light blue and that purple will play well with each other, and then it'll be sitting here next to the strut tower. And the other bit that was coated that sugar grape is this radium fuel rail. So I've got all new hardware for this, new fuel pressure regulator, the fuel pulse damper, and the fuel pressure gauge. So we'll get this fuel rail assembled, and that purple on the black with the silver is just going to look real nice and sharp on the intake side. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this update. Hope you guys like the freshly coated parts and the freshly painted engine bay. Coming up, I'm going to be doing some traveling for work, so before I leave, I'm going to try and get a couple small parts put back in, like the master cylinders, the wiper motor, get the calipers bolted back on, stuff like that. So that way when I get back, I can start making videos for the ABS Delete Kit from GK Tech, and just overall getting the engine bay ready for when the block comes back from the assembler. So again, hope you guys appreciate the video. Until next time, have a good one.